back to talk about more promises. I'm really excited. And I think it'd be best if maybe we started off by recapping and reading them all for everybody again, so we can all hear them.
Okay.
So here we go. We're going to talk about the 12 promises. So promise number 1 is we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness.
Promise number 2. Here it is. We will not
Okay.
regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it.
Number 3, we will comprehend the word serenity.
Number 4, we will know peace.
Number 5, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others.
Number 6, the feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear.
Number 7, we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows.
Number 8, self-seeking will slip away.
9, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change.
10, fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. Wait till we get to 10. Like, that's one I was like, really? That's going to be a thing?
Right? We can actually have that. 11, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which choose to baffle us.
And
Wow.
12, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. So this is great. I'm so glad that we're going through these. Today, we're going to cover, we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. And both of these promises seem very similar. Here, if you've listened to Sherry when she said, love is our religion, peace is our goal. Like, that's actually a thing. Like, peace is the goal. And according to A Course in Miracles, we actually had a lesson today, which is not uncommon because A Course in Miracles' whole thing is peace is the goal. And so they're constantly talking about peace. But today's lesson was specifically 255. Today, I choose to spend in perfect peace. Today, I'm going to give to peace. Actually, we could do that every day. The section says, it doesn't seem to me that I choose to have but peace today. And yet, my God assures me that his child is like himself. Let me this day have faith in him who says that I am God's extension, and let the peace I choose to be mine today bear witness to the truth of what God says. God's son can have no cares and must remain forever in the peace of heaven. In his name, I give today to find what my Father wishes for me and accept it as mine, and giving it all to my Father's son along with me. That sounds like a lot of like verbiage, right? And theory, but I will explain like what that looks like. So when it says like, I have no care, I'm just here for peace, I actually saw it demonstrated today when I showed up and both Jeremy and Zach were here. And I was like, oh, damn, I booked 2 people. And I said to both of them, like, how do you want to handle this? And they were both like, I don't care. Whatever works for everyone. Like, that is it. That's it. That's exactly what it looks like. It looks like having no agenda and no conditions and being cool with however it falls for the highest good of all. And getting to witness that is so much better than just talking about it or reading the lesson. That type of mentality brings up the experience of audacious expansion as opposed to meat wench. The meat wench is always trying to get her good and figure out where her good is and carry the heavy load and make it look hard. It veers into martyrdom, like this is nothing ever works for me and I gotta live by the sweat of my own brow, as opposed to like, my good is at hand. Everything that works out is for my highest good. And I have enough to extend graciousness to you. So I'm good. But that's not always the case, right, Meg?
Oh my gosh, not at all. So I just wanted to say that I am so beyond grateful and I'm so excited that I have both of my teachers, Beth and Maureen, joining me today to talk about comprehending the word serenity, right? And knowing peace. These women have been the greatest example of walking in the path of peace. And when they see me sitting in my sandbox crying, they just gently extend a hand, help me up, dust me off, and invite me to walk beside them. They remind me of the truth of who I am, and that all can be done in peace. And so I'm going to share with you guys a sandbox story of what happened to me this week. So my husband, Matt, and I were taking my daughter, Penelope, to see a dentist this past week. And again, She is my 16-year-old who has profound special needs. And so understandably, she feels enormous anxiety being in any medical office, given just the crazy number of procedures this kid's endured. So this is a dentist who specializes in sedating and treating kids with special needs. And he's also maybe going to be a tenant in my husband's building. So there's like lots of small talk in the beginning. And I could feel Penelope getting increasingly like agitated and trying to take her wheelchair and like wheel herself out of the office. And here's what I wanted to say. I could have said something right there. But the conversation and the casual joking dragged on. So we moved to an exam room. And now we're all crammed into this really tiny space. So it's the dentist, my husband, a hygienist, another dentist. And we managed to like wedge her wheelchair between the equipment. And everybody's continuing with like these niceties, right? So Penelope's grabbing my hand and motioning for me to help her. I could have done something. I didn't. So finally, as the dentist decides he's ready to attempt to get an x-ray on her, he gives Matt and I instructions on how to assist him in getting this done. And so he emphasized, we're only going to do this one time, you know. And so as I am doing my job that he tells me, which is to restrain her arms, she fights really hard against me. And I just like intuitively start trying to soothe her and talk to her about what we're doing, just to try to like lessen her fear and mine. And he is talking to her as well. And then he abruptly stops, looks at me sternly and goes, Mom, I'm going to need you to shut your mouth. And I say nothing. It rang in my ears. I felt this sudden wave of like panic, a fear, of sadness. And I immediately froze, feeling like I had been silenced. You know, all at once, it was like my maternal instincts, my voice, my presence silenced. So I just shrunk. The other dentist chimes in and he's like, that's going to be hard for her. And it was like such an awkward silence that I think he was he was trying to make it less uncomfortable, but he managed to only like tip the emotional scale toward the unbearable. And so I like robotically complete my task, right? Like I did what I was told to do and hold her tight. The x-ray's done. Like I ripped that damn weighted apron off myself and I throw it. I rip Penelope's off. I throw it and like, I'm blind with rage now, right? Like I'm totally in disbelief and I just need to escape. I couldn't turn and face him or anyone else in the room. I could have said something and I didn't. And all those people in the room witnessed that man telling me to shut up and everyone did nothing. And so there it is, right? That's the grievance. That's the trauma. That's the pain that I feel like I've endured my whole life, is being told to shut my mouth while the world simply watched and did nothing. And so I couldn't even get as far as the elevators, right? Before I'm sobbing at this point. I think the anger and the rage and the sadness and the disbelief was also at me because I did nothing. Like I just stood there, allowing the very essence of who I am, just to be incarcerated because somebody told me to be quiet. So the elevator doors rush open. I go in, Matt comes in behind me, and oh my God, those doors close. And what came up and out of me was like, whoo, fire, fury. I mean, I was angry, right? Poor Matt. He just stood there in the path of my anger, like, ah. And, it took me the whole ride home to realize that what I was wanting was the world to come to my rescue. So the other day I was on lesson 71 in A Course in Miracles, and it says the ego believes that if someone else spoke or acted differently, if some external circumstance or event were changed, then I would be saved, right? And there it is. Again, I was looking for someone to save me. If only that man had spoken differently. If only Matt punched him in the face, or really, if only I punched him in the face, I would have been saved. So herein lies the holy opportunity, in the words of my amazing teacher, Maureen, who says, I'll be damned if I'm not going to be blessed by this. So you guys, I go home and I jump on my maiden voyage. It's a project, group project call. And so when it comes time for me to share, we had done this visioning for the project. I didn't even think for a minute before I just blurted out, I hate it. I hate it all. I hate the project. I hate the meetings. I hate the time it's taking out of my life. I hate it. Like, whoa, that just came up and out before I could even realize what I was saying. It felt so freeing though, right? It was like, even though it was harsh and hurtful, it was like exactly what I felt in that very moment. Like I'd had enough and I just needed to let everybody know. Was I able to say what I felt because we had nurtured like a safe, loving space? Or because I just had enough of staying quiet, playing my part, following social constructs that suggested that I stay small, careful, calculated? I was none of those things in that moment. I just spoke my mind. And then I broke down sobbing, telling them what I hated was being trespassed against and holding on to this bullshit belief that I needed to be quiet. So in that holy instant, amongst my spiritual sisters, I used my voice, spoke my truth, and felt this cathartic peace wash over me. This is what power, divine connection. This is what peace feels like. And it's fucking beautiful. I felt a small release from my attachment to the story during our conversation. And my amazing spiritual sister, Cinnamon, went on to reference this story about Medusa. So I look into the Zoom camera and I see that my hair actually does kind of look like a crown of snakes. And not that I want to turn anybody into stone, but maybe I could use this mythical badass to remember my power and presence in the world. And as I continue to lean into the power of speaking my truth, I'd like to learn to react less as if I've startled snakes and more like the divinely guided woman that I was put here to be, right? That is comprehending the word serenity and knowing peace. So I wanted to just close by saying, I really love Pema Chodron, and she had some advice for trudging your way to peace. And she says, it's about when you're really losing it, which I think my sandbox story showed that I was definitely losing it. So she says, just feel the rage, feel the shame, feel the guilt, feel the remorse, feel the resentment, feel the heat and the fire, just as it is. Not escalating further, not repressing, but my God, not turning it into something hard. And so I love that so much. And that is what my teachers are doing for me, not letting me turn it into something hard.
Thanks for that story, Megan. The thing is, here's the thing, when you sign up to like teach something, the universe gives you classes in it. It's like, if you say, I'm going to teach everybody patience, you're going to be set on like the world's longest grocery line. You're going to be like, are you serious? You know what I mean? So all of the blind spots come up because we're not going to be allowed to be unhealed healers. You know what I mean? So that's what's going to happen. I would also suggest that there is something really cathartic and wonderful about feeling those feelings, but to invite us to feel those feelings when they come in thimble size and when they come in teacup size, so that we're not just feeling the feelings when they come in like a forest fire, you know, and to speak to the feelings. So as soon as I'm rolling my daughter in, to speak to especially those who cannot speak for themselves, which is your daughter, to say like, my daughter, I just want a presence in the midst of this like happy hour that you guys seem to be having. Like, she feels a little bit nervous. You might not be picking up on that. I'm picking up on that. I want you to know that. And because she's nervous, I'm nervous. And so I just want to presence that. And all of this joking around isn't helping. You know what I mean? Like, so just to speak to it before it comes a full-blown fire. Last week, we talked about how we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness, and that we will not regret the past, and we're to shut the door on it. So like, I know that you were telling me during this process with these doctors that you're almost like, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to look at this, to look at the opportunities that before you shut me up, I shut me up. You know, and that's what it looks like.
That's exactly right.
So we admit that we're powerless over, you know, alcohol or whatever, that our lives have become unmanageable because I'm not willing to really fully show up. And we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity because I'm absolutely insane, you know? So in that moment when the cage starts to get rattled, you know, don't fly the coop, but go directly to the spiritual principles and ask your internal teacher or wherever you need to go, what would you have me do? What would you have me say in this moment? And most times you might think, I know I think sometimes, like, I don't have the time. Like, the train is rolling down the track. These guys got an agenda and I don't have the time to take a moment and ask, like, what would God have me do right now? I'm on a reactionary basis right now. But I promise you, and this is part of the extravagant promises, if you are gracious enough to give yourself a timeout in that moment and say, stop the train, we're not moving forward till everyone's in peace, because I don't want to, this is a thing that definitely needs to live on the foundation of peace for my daughter. I think everybody would be okay with that. I mean, that's what I've noticed, that trying to push through situations that are uncomfortable, just thinking that we're just going to ignore the truth, never works. It just never works. Though my life in this moment is unmanageable, and I get to acknowledge that it feels unmanageable. This is a call for love. I get to stop the train, and I get to experience like that the world is actually very conducive to my desire for peace. If peace is the goal, you know, if peace is the goal, I'm not moving forward in anything but peace. I say all the time, like, if I can't do it in peace, I'm not doing it. So if I were to feel that agitation, that moment, I would say stop. You know, and I actually had this experience in Ireland one time when my sisters and I all went on a trip together. We had put down a lot of money and we were moving like this, just like you were moving in this doctor's office, like you're moving like a team. And it's like, you don't want to say like special needs here. You just want to be like, let's just go along and get along, you know? But there was like, everybody had their special needs and nobody wanted to talk to each other about it. And everybody was resentful that nobody noticed their special needs. So I was like, let's just stop. Let's just meet here for a cup of tea and say, like, what do you wish to get out of this trip? You invested in it. I need to know what your agenda is. And let me tell you what I need to get out of this trip. It was like a half hour that totally set our trip on the right course, because there were people in this group that were like super enthusiastic and wanted to see everything, and people who were just like Debbie Downers and just wanted to like live in the back of the bus and sleep through most of it. But you know what? There's no blame or shame in how you want to go through your life, you know. But if we all know that and appreciate it, it kind of helps there to be a more expansive grace afforded to the experience. So the second idea that might be worth entertaining is today's lesson, which tells us I have no cares. And I think that was already really beautifully demonstrated by the two musicians. But the idea that I have no cares, it can get a little sticky, because I only say like I have no cares when I actually have no fears. But when I have no cares, when I have some cares, I have some fears. And my fear is my daughter isn't going to be taken care of. I do care here. You know, my fear is that I feel a little uncomfortable with this. I've been through so many of these things with my daughter, and I do need extra care here. And so there's a thing about like the care that I give to the situation when care is called for. In our community, we call that extra grace required. And, you know, we say care is our currency. So there's no shame in taking greater care. And I think that's the thing to maybe contemplate, is okay to take care of each other.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
agree. Absolutely. Yep. So true. So true. Extra grace required always.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, what's the problem with having extra grace? It's not going to cost anybody anything. You know, if we were more graceful, I am the most rough shot person on the block. Like I'm always just shooting from the hip and running down the street with my hair on fire. So I don't know extra grace, how to take it, how to give it, how to receive it. Like I actually have to work at that choreography, and maybe you do too. There's no shame in that. I mean, I feel like sometimes I was raised by wolves. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, and my mom died early and I kind of like went out on my own, and I just came from the mentality of need to get it done or live under a bridge. You know what I mean? So that's not really going to be the most graceful exit point to any engagement. And so I get to bring that wolf-like child and be like, it's going to be okay. Your needs are going to be met here. Like there is a God of your understanding who's going to care for you, and to slowly move and wade into that new mentality. And it does take, sometimes it does look a little bit like a ping pong instead of a straight shot. And you know, that's okay if we stumble our way to grace, you know. So I super appreciate your generosity with your story. And Beth Gordon is going to give us a little practice, you know, ways to restore our mind to sanity. And it has to do with Rosh Hashanah. So I'm going to pass it to you, Beth.
Okay. So for those of you that are familiar, or those of you that are not, we are in what are called the high holidays in the Jewish tradition. And the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, began last week. I believe it was Monday night at sundown. And the time between Rosh Hashanah and the next holiday, which is Yom Kippur, is 10 days. And these are called the days of awe. And they're called the high holidays because this is a time when you get the opportunity to clean your slate of any grievances, of anything that there's still some unforgiveness between you and anyone else or any situation in life. And so the idea here is on the new year that you go into your heart and you say, happy, healthy, prosperous, sweet new year to everyone. And you get to notice, where am I not actually feeling like I want to because I'm still mad at somebody, or I'm still holding a grudge, or I'm still feeling a little something in the space and it doesn't feel clean. And so in the days of awe, you get this period of time to actually go to any person that you feel you could generally go to without causing any harm, and to do a very simple practice. If there's anything that I have said or done that has hurt you in any way, please forgive me. And in the same vein, within one's own heart, to say all of the things that I'm holding in my heart that I feel like others have done for me, I forgive them, and I'm cleaning the slate. So in a lot of ways, it's like in 12 step, where in the fourth step, you get to do this fearless and searching moral inventory. So every year at the beginning of the year, you get to say, who can I not genuinely wish a happy, healthy, prosperous new year to? So you get to clear that out. And so the idea is on Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, that's the day where you can honestly say, okay, God, I have done everything I can to clean up my side of the street. I have gone to every person that I can go to in my heart. I have done all my work. And now I come to you, God. To be, in the Jewish tradition, it's to be sealed into the new year, into the book of life for a happy, healthy, and prosperous year. But it requires that you genuinely do your own work. And so what happens is when you forgive and you let go of all of your defenses, now there's an opening to experience serenity, to experience peace, to experience these very same promises that we've been talking about here today. And there's sort of a general sense of like all of these traditions are leading us to a place where we can enjoy life and be in the flow of life and not get stuck in any of our grievances. And, thanks, Megan, for sharing your wonderful story of how you got stuck in your grievance and finding your way out of it. It's just so beautiful. And we're all doing that every day. So I just want to invite everyone during this period of time of Rosh Hashanah to just take a moment. Is there anyone that is outside of your heart that you couldn't genuinely wish them all blessings in life? And if so, maybe it's time to do a little cleanup work. Maybe it's time to do some forgiveness work. Maybe it's time to let go of that grievance and welcome the flow of creative power, to welcome the serenity and peace that's here and available to us all the time. That's it. Thank you all.
Beth Gordon, you also told me something about Rosh Hashanah, which I thought is interesting, and we're going to be getting to celebrate it together, which is, you said like that you actually fast.
Yes, on Yom Kippur, the idea is fasting, no food or water, unless, of course, for some health reason you need to. But the idea is you're basically surrendering everything of the world, all of your nice clothing and jewelry and makeup. And the idea is on Yom Kippur, you're coming naked to God. And you're saying, I really surrender all this stuff. I'm letting it all go. I'm coming to really be cleaned. So you fast from the consciousness that would have grievances, and you physically fast, like you don't eat or drink anything. And then at the end of the 24 hours of Yom Kippur, you once again gently begin to eat and to be in life and in this world, but from a very clean slate spiritually. And, it's like a way of sort of cleaning up your mental, emotional, and spiritual books and reconciling it all and be like, okay, I've closed that book. This is a new year and my slate is clean and I'm good. And it really does do exactly what you were talking about. Like, instead of letting it become a big wildfire, it takes care of it every year, before it gets to be too big, too crazy.
Thank you for helping us to include that in the conversation. It's audacious.
Thank you.
And I love the days of awe. So now it's your turn, everybody. You want to ask Megan any more embarrassing questions? Anybody have anything that they want to share or thoughts about that? Yeah, we do have a hand up.
Oh, I just wanted to thank Megan for her story. And I too have spent a long time waiting for permission to do things. So what I have done is, whenever I feel that things are off kilter or something's not going right, I say, what do I want to see in this moment? And when I do that, I give myself permission to be and to do and to react. So I just wanted to suggest that if you can start saying, what do I want to see in this moment? It would kind of walk you into giving yourself permission to be, do, act, pray, whatever is next. That's all.
Oh, I love that, Sherry. Thank you.
I think it's really great that you kind of showed us your hot hour. And I also just want to let everybody know who's new here or doesn't know you, that like, that's not the norm. Like, that's definitely not the norm for her. So yeah, we all hit that moment, and thank God for it, because like you said, like, it brings us to a point of healing something that we didn't even know was there. So Jeannie, you want to share something?
Yes. First of all, thank you to both of you for your stories, and to Beth for sharing the tradition of Rosh Hashanah. And it made me think about all the times that I gave up my voice. It's always been mine, but I've always given away that power and allowed other people's I don't know if I felt like they were more important or, being raised to be seen and not heard. But it got me to thinking about that. And so as I was sitting here and in that beautiful chant, realizing that there's something I can do about it. So I decided that this afternoon, I'm going to write those times down. I'm going to put them on a piece of paper. I'm going to tear them up and I'm going to burn it. And that's going to be my clean slate. So I thank you all for just helping me to understand I don't have to carry it around anymore. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeannie. And Jeannie is going to be helping lead the International Day of Peace with ACIM contemplation. So thank you for your leadership, Jeannie. And Mia has something to share.
Yeah, I wanted to first say thanks to Megan. And, I just love that fire and I could so identify with it. Last year, sort of the shit hit the fan in the Kundalini yoga community. And I went into such a rage that, and this was, like Maureen was saying, was unusual for you. This was a very unusual display for this very peaceful yoga teacher. And I got all my books and I put them in my open heart fire. I opened the doors of the fireplace, I put them in and I did a live video of me burning all my yoga books. And, somebody contacted me and said, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Why don't you do Ho'oponopono? And, Amy, no offense, but for the first time in my life, I just went, fuck Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. I really need to feel this. I needed to go through the eye of the needle. I needed to experience the rage because it purified so much in me. So much changed for me after that. But I actually had to go through it. And I also had to not so much defend my rage, but be allowed to express it fully and completely and to really feel it. And I wasn't just feeling mine, it was on behalf of so many other women, and it was on behalf of my little girl who never got to rage and kick and scream and all of that. So it was deeply healing for me. So I just really, I just want you to know I've shared that space with you.
I love that, Mia Sarah. I love that because that's once I raged and let it go, it was like the most amazing feeling of peace, right? Like I really needed that moment. And it was great because my group, which Amy is in and does a lot of Ho'oponopono, I'm not sure I'm saying it right, but she just looked at me and was like, yeah, fuck that. And I was like, yes. Well, it was a beautiful space and we all felt it. And so then we just like let it go, but it was,
yeah,
they were awesome.